All right, let's talk about motivation. Or maybe more accurately, let's talk about why almost everything you've been told about motivation is, well, probably wrong. Today, we're going to tear down this whole idea of just getting motivated and build something way better, a system that's based on science and actually, works. Okay, be honest. You know this feeling, right? You know exactly what you need to do. The task is right there, staring you in the face. You've got the time, but you're just stuck. You're sitting there waiting for this magical wave of motivation to hit you. And you wait, and before you know it, the day's gone. It's got to be one of the most frustrating feelings there is. And we've been fed this line our whole lives, haven't we? Just find your inspiration. You just need to get motivated. As if we're supposed to sit in some kind of mental waiting room until the motivation fairy shows up. But what if that isn't just bad advice? What if it's the worst advice, and the waiting game itself is the actual problem? So let's start right there. Let's dig in and bust this motivation myth wide open, because it's the core, flawed idea that trips up almost all of us. I absolutely love this analogy from Dr. BJ Fogg. He says motivation is like your party animal friend. You know the one. They're a blast for a big night out, they're exciting, they get you to do amazing things in a short burst. But would you ask that friend to help you file your taxes or to show up reliably every single day? Of course not. They're just not built for it. So why on earth do we build our entire strategy for achieving our biggest goals around this flaky, unreliable friend? And here's the trap, plain and simple. We believe that we have to feel motivated before we can act, that an artist has to be struck by a bolt of divine inspiration, and then they can start painting. It seems so logical, but it's a total trap. It's what keeps us frozen, waiting for our feelings to give us permission to start. But here's the scientific reality that just flips the whole script. Action comes first. Motivation comes after. The artist doesn't wait for inspiration, they just start mixing some paints, making a few strokes, and it's the act of doing that creates the spark. Decades of neuroscience show us that motivation isn't the cause of action, it's the result. It's a feedback loop. Think of it this way. Motivation isn't the key that starts the engine, it's the exhaust that proves the engine is already running. So if motivation is just the exhaust, then what's the actual engine? It's discipline. And I know, that word can sound harsh, like it's all about punishment and misery. But let's reframe that completely. We're talking about discipline as the real, reliable engine for getting things done. And this is the crucial difference. Discipline is the skill of decoupling your actions from your feelings. It's about showing up and doing the thing whether you feel like it or not. This isn't about having superhuman willpower. It's about building a structure, a system that makes the right choice the easy, almost automatic choice. This quote from James Clear explains the process perfectly. Discipline is the kickstart. It's that initial, difficult push to get the flywheel spinning. But consistency, that's what keeps it spinning. Consistency is how you turn that difficult new action into an automatic habit that doesn't drain your energy anymore. Okay, so we've established that action comes first. But why does this work on a biological level? Let's take a peek under the hood at the incredible chemistry happening inside your brain that makes this whole system so powerful. Let's talk about dopamine. Now, you've probably heard it called the pleasure molecule, but that's not quite the whole story. It's actually the molecule of pursuit. It's the molecule of more. Your brain releases it in anticipation of a reward, which is what drives you to seek, to explore, and to work towards a goal. It's the neurochemical that says, go get that. And this is where the magic happens. This is the success loop. Step 1, you take a small, concrete action. Let's say you just write one sentence of that report. Step 2, your brain releases a little bit of dopamine. It's a little reward, a little pat on the back that says, good job. Step 3, that little dopamine hit creates a craving. It makes you want to do it again. And step 4, you repeat the action. It's this beautiful, self-perpetuating cycle. Action creates dopamine, which creates motivation, which leads to more action. Okay, the science is really cool, but how do we actually use it? How do we build this discipline engine in our own lives? Well, let's get into the practical toolkit. The good news is, it's a lot simpler than you might think. First, a quick reality check. You've probably heard that myth that it takes 21 days to form a habit. Well, a landmark study found that's not really true. The average time it took for a new behavior to become automatic was actually 66 days. And the range was huge, from 18 days to over 250 for some people. So the biggest lesson here? Be patient with yourself. This is a process, not a sprint. This is the single most important rule. The biggest mistake we all make is starting too big. Your goal isn't to run a marathon tomorrow. Your goal is to build the habit of simply putting on your running shoes. So, make the new habit so tiny, so laughably easy, that it's almost impossible to say no. Don't commit to a full workout. Commit to one push-up. Don't commit to writing a chapter. Commit to writing just one sentence. Okay, tool number 2. You anchor your new, tiny habit to a solid routine you already have. This is called habit stacking. Your brain loves patterns, so you're just piggybacking the new behavior onto a pathway that's already strong. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will open my research document. The coffee is the anchor, the automatic trigger for your new, tiny habit. And now for the last tool. And I know this one sounds a little silly, but I promise you, it is neurologically critical. The second you complete your tiny habit, you have to celebrate. Immediately. It can be a little fist pump, a quiet yes, anything that creates a quick, positive feeling. That immediate emotional spike is what tells your brain, hey, that was good, let's do that again. It's what wires the habit into your brain fast. Now for the final piece of the puzzle, and honestly, this might be the most important part of all. You can have the best system in the world, but if your mindset is working against you, it will eventually fall apart. This is about what makes the whole thing sustainable. Just take a look at these two inner voices. On the left, you have that critical drill sergeant a lot of us think we need for discipline. The voice that says, I'm a failure if I mess up. But that voice just leads to anxiety and burnout. Now look at the right. This is the compassionate coach. It acknowledges that setbacks are just part of the process. And that's the voice that allows you to get back on track quickly without all the drama. And this isn't just a nice, feel-good idea. It is backed by solid research. Studies have found something fascinating. The more people criticize themselves after a setback, the slower their progress is and the less likely they are to eventually succeed. Let me say that again. Being hard on yourself is actually counterproductive. It makes you less likely to reach your goals. This quote from Dr. Kristen Neff, a leading researcher on this topic, just says it all. True, sustainable motivation doesn't come from a place of self-hate. It comes from a place of genuine care. When you care about yourself, you naturally start making choices that are good for you in the long run. It is the ultimate renewable fuel source for your goals. So, I'll leave you with this question. Forget about some massive, life-altering change. Based on everything we've talked about, what is one ridiculously small, easy habit you can anchor to your routine tomorrow, and how can you approach it with compassion, ready to celebrate that small win and forgive yourself if you miss a day? Because that right there is the real secret to building a system that actually lasts.